What is up, Failroaders? Welcome to another FailroadExpress How to Play video. This is our second part of our How to Play Star Wars Rebellion, and it is everything you need to know about moving units. The first and simplest way to move units is to simply place a leader in a sector that you want to activate and move units based on their capacity and their ability to move to different sectors. So let's say that I want to activate these units and move them to Malastare. Well, in order to do that, all I've got to do is place one of my leaders here and move this ship and any ground units I can based on this ship's capacity. You can see your ship's capacities on your faction cards. This ship is an assault carrier and its capacity is 4. And it can carry any unit that has the chain symbol on it or link symbol. So for each one of these link symbols, I can carry one of these units. So 4 units is the maximum capacity for that particular ship, and I only need to carry 3 units. And you know what? I'm not even going to carry that many units. I'm just going to carry 2 units. That's perfectly legal too. And I've moved to a planet that has rebel loyalty. So once an Imperial player moves to a planet that is either neutral or has rebel loyalty, it automatically subjugates that planet. Now this subjugation marker goes on top of the rebel loyalty because the planet isn't really loyal to the Empire, it's just being controlled by them. That is the simplest form of movement in the game. Now let's look at some more complicated situations that you're going to run into when it comes to moving units. You may find situations in which you want to retreat from a battle. The retreating from a battle takes place at the very end of each battle round. And it's one of the only times that a leader that doesn't have tactic values, so you don't see any numbers on the bottom left or right of the card, whereas for Admiral Akbar, he has a 3 and a 1. So, even though Mon Mothma has no attack values, she can still move units only if she wants to retreat. And when retreating units, you take one of your leaders and you move them to an adjacent sector that is a legal move. So in this case, this planet is a legal move because there is a rebel unit here and there's rebel loyalty. Now let's say that this planet wasn't here, or these troops weren't here, and they didn't have rebel loyalty, there's just neutral planets surrounding them. Let's say that the enemy forces came from over here, so the rebels cannot retreat into the place where the enemy attacked from. They also can't go to this planet because there's a Imperial tank there. The only place they can go to is Yavin or Mandalorian. So in this case, either one would be a legal move, and as long as they had enough transport room, which in this case they don't, they can take as many ground units as they can transport. So this Corvette can only transport 2 units, and so 2 units can go with it, leaving 1 to finish off the fight. So that's retreating from combat. Remember, there's special circumstances for which you can't retreat from combat, like if the Imperials have a Death Star, then they can't retreat. And if the Imperials have an Interdictor class Star Destroyer, then the Rebels can't retreat. Now, let's look at moving troops into a place that has enemy units. So let's say I want to place Darth Vader here and move units in from the surrounding sectors. Whenever I place a commander, I can move in units from any sector surrounding this one. However, my movement over here is restricted because I already have one of the leaders over here utilizing these troops. So all of these troops are immobile at this time, which means I can only bring in troops from this area. Once again, I only have this one ship with a transport capacity of 4, which means that I have to choose which 4 of these units I want to take with me. Now the Imperials have to transport their TIE fighters as well as their ground units. So I'll have to move in just from that area, and I guess I'm gonna take 2 TIE fighters, 2 TIE fighters, and an ATST, and 1 Stormtrooper. And that's how you might move into a combat situation, and also how leaders can prevent movement from happening. And this is kind of a mechanism which keeps the Empire or the Rebels from just hopscotching halfway across the galaxy in one round of the game. It keeps the game evenly paced and prevents you from, say, getting your Death Star from over here all the way over here because you found out the Rebel base was here. Also, whenever the Empire moves onto a planet that they haven't moved onto with ground forces, the Rebels have to declare whether their Rebel base is there or not. In fact, that's the only time that the Rebel has to tell the truth about where their Rebel base is. But we'll get into more detail on that when we do our Rebel base video. So, ground combat will then commence along with space combat. And then once again, if the Imperials have to retreat, they can retreat back to the system that they came from. Keep in mind that if you want to retreat from a battle, your leader has to go, and if you want your leader to retreat from a battle for any reason whatsoever, as many forces have to retreat with them, including all of their starships. Any starship that doesn't require a link or a carry capacity to transport, so all Rebel ships can transport themselves to different planets. And they have to be, once again, in a legal zone, in this case, a place, let's say, that the Empire controls this place. Now this is so important that I cleared the board. This is talking about how to move units to and from the Rebel base and how it might differ and how it might be the same from normal troop movement. So first off, you can move troops from the Rebel base to the planet that the Rebel base is on. So, you know, if it's your hidden Rebel base, you can activate that planet, and not only can you move troops in from the surrounding areas, but you can move units in from the Rebel base as well. Just like that. In fact, if you wanted to, you could take everyone from the Rebel base, barring the building, of course, until you've actually declared where the Rebel base is. Then the building would also move to that planet. So you can leave your Rebel base bare and have everyone on the planet, or you can move adjacent to the Rebel base. So let's just say that these units are still on the Rebel base space. You could just simply move them to the planet that you want to move them to. Any surrounding planet that is touching the planet that the Rebel base is on. So they can move there, they can move there, we'll put some ships out there, they can move there, here, or here from Toydaria. Another important thing to know though is, let's say that you choose to move people from the surrounding areas to the Rebel base. So you're actually activating the Rebel base with one of your leaders, and you can move people from Toydaria or from the surrounding areas to the Rebel base. However, in doing this, you are giving away the general area that the Rebel base could be in. So I moved units from Toydaria and Sulakami, so that means that the Rebel base could be either one of these planets, or it could be this planet or this planet. So you're narrowing down the search for the Empire if you do that. So you might want to get that rapid mobilization card ready just in case. Or maybe you've got some kind of trick up your sleeve. Who knows? But it's also important to note that with a leader on the rebel base, it counts just like having a leader on the planet. Those units are now locked in place. They are considered to have been utilized for a movement or a mission, and they can only leave using special mission cards that might allow them to leave. So that is what's important, what's different, and what's the same about movement to and from the rebel base. Now let's look at one of the more unique ways in which troops can be moved. Let's say we've got this scenario right here, where the rebel fleet wants to try and go in and attack the Death Star because maybe they've got the right kind of objective card that's going to allow them to destroy it. There's a problem though. A planet has been destroyed right here. This does not prevent movement of ground units. However, in moving our fleet into this sector and moving all of our ground forces in as well, if for whatever reason these transport ships should be destroyed, we then have less transport capacity, meaning that we're going to have to get rid of troops until our ground forces equal or are less than our transport capacity. So we have a total of 4 capacity, which means we have to get rid of 3 of our ground units. Now these ground units are still alive, and when these ships move on into a sector that does have a planet, they will then be placed on that planet just like normal. Now the last way that units can be moved is through mission cards or other special abilities. So things like rapid mobilization and behind enemy lines can cause you to be able to move certain types of units and disregard things like capacity or adjacency rules. There are also other things like action cards, which will allow you to move units, like this one is Suntir Fail's scouting mission. It allows him to take 4 TIE fighters into another sector, and if there's enemies there, well, you can have combat. The last thing we have to talk about when it comes to transports are immobile structures. So, immobile structures are any building that's on the planet, and some of these come in the expansion, the Rise of the Empire, and then the Death Star under construction. It also counts as an immobile platform because, well, it's still being built. Well, those are all the rules pertaining to moving units. If you've got any questions or perhaps some things that you think I left out, be sure and comment below. Keep in mind, I'll be making more parts to these videos, and you're going to find more of the rules from the rules reference in later parts. Let me see. Things you might be wondering about could be captured leaders. Captured leaders are going to be their own video. Producing units is going to be its own video as well. So if you enjoyed what we did here, like and subscribe. Click on the bell icon if you want to make sure you get the next videos in this series, and hope you'll check out our next part, which is going to be part 3, and that's going to be all about mission cards. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Hey, is there a question that you had that this video didn't answer? Leave a comment below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But keep in mind that your answer might just be in a different video if it's in a different category. Thanks for watching.